Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, then welcome. My name is Christina, and today we are testing out a bunch of brand new drugstore makeup. They tend to do this every year at the end of the year, and then they'll kind of start promoting it at the beginning of the next year. So you will be seeing way more reviews and videos on these things, but I wanted to get this video out to you guys so you can kind of see what my first impressions were. I'm not entirely in love with first impressions, but I have heard you guys, and a lot of you want to see my first impressions on these products. So what I'm gonna do today is give you my first impression, and in a separate video I do want to come back and let you guys know what I think of these products after being able to use them a few more times, maybe after a couple of weeks, and let you guys know what I think about them and if I think that they are going to work for you, and alternatively if I think that they kind of work within my own makeup routine. We have complexion, foundation, concealers, we have some mascaras, some drugstore mascaras, and you guys know I'm so picky about drugstore mascaras. We have some eyeshadows, some blushes, all the things. So if you guys are interested, then just keep watching. Hopefully the lighting is okay. I always get into these little funks where I'm messing with my lighting and my audio and my setup every couple of months, and I decided to do something a little different today. I'm going to start off with eyes, and Maybelline came out with some liquid eyeshadows. I have two shades here. I purchased the shade number 10 Amethyst, an Amethyst drip, and number 35 Brass drip. I really love these brassy, dirty golden tones on me for an everyday look, and I love a purpley shimmer for like a pop on the eye. We do have a doe foot right here on this end. I'm going to do a few swipes here. That's really pretty. The Amethyst drip shade does look like it has a little bit of a more champagne reflex underneath those purple tones. It has less of a pigmented base there, and it seems like more of a shimmer type of product. And I do like when it has less of a base when it's this type of shade, because I typically use them as toppers. Okay, this one definitely has more of a base, as you can see right there. It almost looks like a metallic shimmer versus glitter, and I think that's actually going to look really, really nice. This one off of first impression is giving me the RMS Flare eyeshadow, and this is definitely one of my go-to dirty bronzy shades. This one definitely is more moussey, but it does have that metallic finish to it, similarly to the Maybelline one, but the Maybelline one doesn't seem as strong in pigmentation, but it's definitely reminding me of it, which is really exciting because again, this is my favorite shade from RMS. Have you guys felt the Kulfi cream eyeshadows? Those start off more moussey, but then as you thin it out onto the eyelids, they dry down and they kind of turn it into this film feeling, and they last pretty much all day. This gives me that same film feeling. I really quickly grabbed my REM Beauty Fembot, and I want to see what it looks like compared. Okay, so right off the bat, Fembot does seem to have more of a metallic finish, not just a baseless eyeshadow. I think I want to apply this first with my fingers and then maybe with a brush so we can see. When it comes to liquid shadows, it can definitely vary if you can use it with or without a brush. So we're going to try without a brush first, and I'm just going to go on my bare lid. Sometimes I will start off with some eyeshadow primer, but when it comes to liquid shadows, I like to test them out first without any primer. Wow. That's actually spreading the pigment quite evenly. I find sometimes with drugstore liquid shadows, it can be a bit patchy. Oh, I spoke too soon. It seems like it's kind of picking up on my finger more than it's staying on my eyelid. Yeah, we're kind of left without any sort of base color and mainly just the bronze shimmer. Okay, that's okay. Let's go in with a brush and see if we can kind of fix that. It does have a little bit of a cooling feeling, but I don't think that's intentional. I think that truly is just because it is a liquid. So I'm gonna go in and try to tap this ever so slightly. Okay, it dried down quite fast. Let me try this again. I'm gonna remove it fully. It does say to apply it with a brush, so finger definitely was not the move, I suppose. So directly on the lid. Okay, we have a pretty even layer, and then same brush right here. We're just gonna tap out the edges first. The problem with liquid shadows sometimes is that they can dry quite quickly before you can actually blend them out. So you have to work a bit fast with them. Something about this is looking a little off, like it doesn't look seamless. It's looking a bit patchy. I have this weird wing thing because I couldn't blend it fast enough, so I just added a little bit more to my brush, and then we're trying to diffuse this. This might look better if you use a powder shadow underneath and not just the liquid shadow. I'm not crazy about it. It looks a little bit crusty. It's not super even. I really do like the shift. It just looks a little bit dry, a little bit too flaky for me. I don't know if you guys can tell here, but it's looking a little intense for sure. We'll try one more thing. We'll try it on this eye. Let's do a little bit of a matte crease, and then we'll pop this right on top. Okay, so now we have more of a foundation here. So now we're gonna go in with the Maybelline, and we're gonna do the same thing, just go in with an even layer, and then I'm going to blend it out with my brush. Gonna try to work quickly here. Okay, third time's the charm. That looks a lot better, obviously, because we do have more of that transition from bare eyelid to actual like liquid eyeshadow here, since we did lay down those matte colors. Wasn't the easiest, still have to work pretty quickly with it, but we're not seeing as much patching. I also feel like I didn't feel the need to use as much liquid eyeshadow, which could definitely be the reason why this was looking more patchy and just more, I guess, green overall. So I'm gonna just take this off, do the same thing that we did on this eye, and I'll be right back. All right, you guys, I'm back. I finished this eye and I went ahead and filled in my brows as well, and I wanted to pop this on. This is a new lip balm from CoverGirl. This is the Squishy Glaze. I have peach gummies, and I am going to be releasing a dedicated drugstore lip video pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. I am going to be wear testing every single new drugstore lip product. I'm not going to be putting the Amethyst Drip one on today because I think with the other products we have, it's not really going to look right, but I will insert some B-roll when I do use this one. I'm assuming that I'm going to use this sort of as a topper, especially because it doesn't have that much of a base. But overall, I think that these are a little bit difficult to work with. They're definitely one of those liquid shadows that is going to dry very, very quickly. In saying that, I do feel like maybe this may have some good staying power, but we will see. It's really hard to tell right off the bat. But again, I think that if you go in with too much too quickly, then it can kind of look dry, a little bit patchy, and just not as even. I'm not like blown away by it, but so far it's a little bit tricky. Let's move on to the mascaras that I have. One from Maybelline, one from L'Oréal, and you guys, both of these come in waterproof. It does always take a while for new mascara releases to come out with waterproof versions, but I'm pretty sure they came out with these waterproof right off the bat. This is the body mascara from Maybelline and the Extensionist mascara from L'Oréal. Now, the reason I was really interested in both of these is because they both claim to give you a lot of lift, a lot of curl. And you guys know that I can only maintain a curl in my eyelashes if I use a Asian mascara underneath it, or a really, really good waterproof mascara underneath. Because this is the first impressions, I am not going to use this with an Asian mascara, but I will preface and say, you guys, that no matter what mascara I use, I always layer it with an Asian mascara. So this isn't necessarily how I would wear this, but I want to show you guys what it would look like if you opted to only use the mascaras by themselves. I've been using this Rougher 20R lash curler. They have two sizes. They have the 18R, which has a bit more of a deep curl, and then they have the 20R, which is going to be a bit more flat. And this one I really like because the curve is very similar to my Surratt eyelash curler. This is the rougher one. As you guys can see, they are a bit more flat and only have a very slight curve. And I find that works the best because my face is a bit flatter, and my eyelids, because of that, are a bit flatter and they don't curve in as much. Like, I don't have deep set eyes. Look at that. It's so good. Okay, let's do this. So I'm going to do the L'Oreal one on this side. And again, this is going to be the waterproof version. This has magnetic pigments with microfibers that bond with lashes to extend them beyond their tip. I love the bottle. I love that the name is like across it right there. And we do have a plastic applicator here with a very slight curve, really tiny bristles, and I don't hate that, but I do wonder if this is going to give me an excess amount of product. So I'm going to start with wiggling this at the root and kind of brushing it up. And I'm going to start off with one very thin layer, as thin of a layer as I can. I will say that the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara, that one, it will actually give me a curl and it'll stay for a couple of hours by itself. So I have had good luck with that one. So we will see. Of course I have to sniff it. I always have to sniff a new tube of mascara. All right, let's apply her. And I'm just going to take the base and kind of curl it up, wiggle it, and twist it up. It is depositing a lot of product, which makes me nervous. I think it might get heavy. I'm going to stare at the camera here, so if this does fall, you guys can kind of see it in real time. I always think that's really interesting. So this is how it starts off with the product. It is quite lifted, but I will say right off the bat, it deposited a lot of product here. Okay, I just went scavenging for my lash comb, and before it has a chance to dry, I'm gonna kind of comb it out. And the reason why I want to do this before it dries is because I feel like the dry, thicker clumps may drop my lashes. So I'm trying to thin this out essentially. It's doing really good so far. So let's move on to this side with the Maybelline Body Mascara. First of all, this tube I think is so beautiful. It's this matte tube and it has this like neutral nudie pink shade that I think is quite different for Maybelline. I know that packaging isn't that important, but I do think that they did a really good job of making this one look a little bit more aesthetic, I guess, because you know, they usually go with really bright colors with fun shapes and stuff, which is totally fine and definitely Maybelline to me. But this one I feel like they were trying to do something different and it made me excited because I was like, is this very different from their other mascaras? Full body volume, all day lifted curve. Maybelline has so many different mascaras. I do really like Sky High. Whenever I layer that one, the waterproof version with my Asian mascara, it gives me such a beautiful look. I've gone through a couple of tubes of that one actually. So we do have a very bendy brush, as you guys can see, and it does have a very body type of brush. We have a little bit of like this hourglass shape. It's plastic bristles as well. They do seem kind of sparse. The bristles on this one are a little bit longer than the L'Oreal one. Pretty much doing the same thing. We're gonna go in with a really, really light layer to kind of set the lashes in their curl before building on top of it. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna start at the root, wiggle it a bit, and then bring it up. This wand is definitely bigger, so you cover a lot more area. Might be a little bit difficult if you have small eyes, but it's not terrible. And I feel like because of these longer bristles and how they're kind of spread apart a little bit more, it seems like you're not getting as much clumping here. That was pretty easy, and I don't think that I have to go in with my lash comb to further separate my lashes. So that's gonna be my first coat. Now, as you guys can see, I didn't really go to the tips of my lashes again because I'm just trying to build that mascara on top and then let it dry before going over any more. Mascara for me is a science. So this side feels completely dry, and you guys, I don't think that my curl fell whatsoever. I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited. What I usually do with my mascaras is I go in with one layer and then towards the end I'll go in with another layer. I'm gonna do that so we give it every single second we can to let both sides dry down before we go over it with more. But so far, neither of these seem like they're falling at all. Even though this one claims to have volume and curl, I do feel like it gave me more definition than the L'Oreal side, where the L'Oreal side does say that it's supposed to give you that definition. So that's really interesting to me. Let's move on now to complexion. And I'm very excited because I got the new Maybelline Lifter foundations. These are the Plump and Glow foundations. I bought 3 shades because I wasn't sure. So 220 is my typical skin tint from Maybelline. But when I was looking at the pictures and reading the descriptions, I felt like 120 and 210 were a little bit more what my complexion is currently. And I actually bought this, I think like 2 weeks ago, and I purchased it on Ulta's website, and they came in and all 3 of them were completely smashed. They were like shattered because they were all packed in the same bubble wrap pouch, which didn't really make sense to me. So let's do some swatches. I really would hate to open all of these. I would like to donate the ones that I don't think are gonna work for me. I'm gonna try to skip swatching 210 and let's try to go in with 220 and see how this does. That doesn't look terrible. I actually feel like that looks really good. And then go down the neck. This is where I have trouble. So on my face, it typically looks pretty good, but then once it hits my neck is so different from my face that I have to kind of choose, do I want it to match my face better or match my neck better? So we're going to let that sit and kind of do its thing and oxidize, because if I know anything about drugstore foundations, they tend to oxidize. As you guys can see, this is already looking very, very warm on me, even though that first swatch right there did look like it was going to match. So we're going to let that dry down. Let's go ahead and swatch 120. So this is going to be the lightest one I got. This is the darkest one. And then this one that we haven't touched yet is going to be the middle. So this is 120, and it does look like it's going to be very, very light on me down the neck. It looks a little pink right off the bat. It says that it's a neutral undertone online, but maybe it's looking really, really pink because it's right next to a warm undertone right there. So we'll see what that looks like in just a couple of minutes. Okay, you guys, I've let both of them dry down. While I think that the shade is correct, the undertone is too peachy. Hopefully you guys can see that. I blended it a little bit and it seems like it would be okay, but at the same time it looks a little off. And then this looks way too warm. I think we're gonna have to open this one up and see what it looks like. This one is 210 and it's described as a light medium with warm undertones, the same thing as 220. Ooh, that looks so warm. Maybelline, what are these shades? I don't have a problem with the shades and undertones necessarily, but I think that the way that they are so different, like this is 220, this is 210. They're both described as a light, medium, warm undertone, but this looks way more neutral than this one. This looks super, super warm. Oh yeah, that's just straight yellow, which isn't surprising again because I am a neutral undertone. So keeping all of these things in mind. Honestly, I think I'm somewhere between this and this. Like these two shades mixed together, 120 and 210, I think are where I'm sitting. I think 120 is going to be the one that I have to go with because these two are just really, really warm on me. I've been really liking this It Cosmetics airbrush spatula brush. They sent this to me a while ago, but I think that you can purchase this. I've just been really enjoying the fact that you can go in with a very light amount of product. So I'm gonna take the shade 120, where are you? 120, and put it on my palette right here. And then I'm just going to go in with my spatula brush and we're just gonna swipe it. And by the way, I don't have any primer on. That actually looks pretty good. No, I just did my skincare today because I knew that we were going to be testing out a foundation, and I actually also skipped sunscreen. I don't recommend that, but I knew this was going to be very dewy. I wanted to see how this would do on my usual face of makeup, and then I was going to use the correct sunscreen accordingly. I'm going to use this e.l.f. complexion duo and just buff in all of that foundation. And the reason why I really like going in with the spatula technique is because you can go and do a very thin layer, like just enough, and build on top of that versus going in with a lot of product, having to buff it all out, and then your skin kind of freaks out. And at least mine, since I am more oily, it seems like it overcompensates with how much product you have on top. So doing lighter layers really allows the makeup to sit better and not make my skin feel like it's producing a ton of oil. Okay, I'm not hating the way that this is looking on the skin, but again, we're gonna have to see how it looks in a couple of minutes once it oxidizes a little bit more. I'm going to skip over my under eyes because usually I'll just use concealer in those areas. And I'm gonna bring it down the neck because again, this is not going to be our perfect match, so it's important that we try to blend it down the neck as much as possible. And also gonna take a bit on the forehead and between the brows. I don't bring a lot of foundation on my nose actually because I find that it can look quite heavy in those areas. This is what it's looking like with a very, very, very thin layer. I would say this is an even medium coverage because I didn't go in with like a full layer. Like I would say that this is just a veil of product and I don't hate it. I think it looks really good even with the very little amount of product that we used. Is it giving healthy skin to you guys? Because it's kind of giving healthy skin to me. I'm really liking that. It looks really good. So now what I want to do is just just take the rest of this product that we have right here, and I'm going to go in with my finger in the areas that I feel like I want more coverage, and then we're just going to buff it out with the same brush just to make sure that everything is blended evenly to see what this full pump is going to give us in terms of coverage. I think that if you have oily skin and you're going in with a dewy foundation, going in with really thin layers, as thin as possible, is the way to go. Even if you don't have like a spatula brush like this one from It Cosmetics, you can go in with your finger and just swipe it on as thin as possible. Let it dry for a couple of seconds and then buff it out with a brush, and you can kind of see how much coverage you're going to get out of just that, opposed to, like I said, kind of piling on the foundation and then realizing, oh, this is going to be way too dewy and not workable on my oily skin. Just gonna stamp it with a slightly damp sponge right here. All right, so this is what the skin is looking like with the foundation on. I think that it looks really good. I think it's more of a light medium coverage, especially with the way that I applied it. I think that if you go in with a thicker amount of product, you can definitely get more coverage, but I do fear that it is going to be way too dewy for my liking these days, so I'm gonna kind of keep it here. And of course, with this lifter foundation, I had to get the brand new lifter concealer. I have some spillage here from when those original foundations broke on me because it came in the same packaging, but this is in the shade 50. This one is a light medium neutral, so hopefully this one matches. Oh, this is a funny little applicator. It looks really short, like it's a flatter, like half size of a regular applicator. The doe foot is fatter though, but again, quite small. It kind of looks like a hoof. Let's feel this first. It does seem, oh yeah, so definitely drier texture than the foundation, and it almost seems like a thick cream, which is interesting. So I think if I put this shade straight away in my dark areas, it's just gonna make them gray. So here's what I'll do. I will take this same foundation, dab a little bit of this under the eyes just for some color correcting, and then we'll go on top of it with the concealer. Just on the inside right there. I'm not gonna take it all over my under eye. Okay, and now let's go in with the concealer. Right here, looks a bit yellow. Oh, it's very bright. But that's okay because, again, I feel like this foundation might be a little off, so maybe this will fix it. Actually, I don't know if it will. Sometimes I feel like these first impression videos are just a mess because trying a bunch of different products, not knowing if the shades are right or if the textures are going to work together, it's a bit crazy. Taking my A506 from BK Beauty, and we're just gonna blend that out. I don't feel like I have to let this sit for too long because it does feel like more of a drier texture when it comes to a concealer, which isn't a terrible thing. I do think that that kind of makes me feel like it's going to stay in place longer throughout the day. Either these colors are tricking me or I'm just tricking myself because I feel like all of these complexion products so far don't seem like they're going to match me, but they end up looking pretty good. The tone of this one kind of reminds me of my Danessa Myricks concealer, where that one is brighter but a touch yellow. This one seems like it's kind of doing the same thing. While I am a true neutral, with specific shade ranges, I can lean a little bit warm. So I think that's why this is working pretty well. I like that texture. I like that it's a little bit of a thicker, creamy type of liquid concealer, but it's still blended in really well. I think the thicker texture of this kind of preserves the pigmentation in it. I think it brightened my face very, very subtly. Very happy with that. I think that that made the complexion look very dimensional. Wow, I'm impressed. That looks good. It's a little bit thick, like right here on my upper lip, but we'll see how it settles and wears once it warms up to my complexion. We have a L'Oréal product. So this is one of their brand new Lumi Bronze sticks. I got this in the shade 120 Copper Bronzette, and it's supposed to be a medium tone. First of all, I was looking at the shade range, and honestly, you guys, it's really bad. L'Oreal is interesting to me because their foundations, like their complexion products in that sense, they do have a pretty good shade range, but then when it comes to things like these, they release like 5 shades and they're complete, like they jump so many different skin tones. Like the first one, Sunkissed Rose, that's not even a bronzer really. It does look like this has a pearl finish to it, so let's see what that looks like. There's definitely some orangey tones in that, like yellowy orange tones. And it looks like there's a bit of a pearl sheen to it too. I was really intrigued by this because it did say that it turns into a powder. So it's like a cream to powder. And it does feel like it's drying down, like as I'm pushing it around on the back of my hand. Yeah, that does feel very dry. Okay, taking my BK 109 brush. I don't like putting these types of things straight onto my face because I feel like sometimes it picks up underneath. So I'm just gonna take my brush and push it into the product here. Pack it on, tap it, and then we'll start on the forehead. Oh, this has a scent. Oh, that's very strong, very perfumey. It's kind of, is that floral? It's a little bit floral. Oh, that pearl is bringing a lot of shine on my forehead. Oh no. Okay, I'm just trying to buff it out with that foundation brush that we used earlier. I don't know if this is going to be a good one to use on your forehead, especially if you are like me and have a bigger forehead and light tends to reflect off of it like its own little reflector. It looks okay, but man, that really added a lot. I think this might be something that has to be reserved for just the cheeks. Because this is so warm and very much a bronzer, not a contour, I think I'm gonna keep it mainly on the tops of my cheeks where my face usually would tan. And then I'm gonna go in with a separate contouring stick to further define the bottom half of my face because this I think is just too warm. Okay, on the tops of the cheeks though, I will say that it looks really beautiful because I guess that dewy finish of the foundation is really mixing in with the dewiness of this bronzing stick or the pearlescent finish of the bronzing stick, and it just seems to go together. It's really giving me bronze glam right now, and I really like it. I do think that this is, yeah, it's not as sticky, and if you're looking at the actual finish, not necessarily the pearl in it, it does seem like it's drying down, like it's not staying super dewy and wet. Okay, here's what that bronzing stick looks like. I do think that this looks really nice on my cheeks. I think it's too pearlescent on my forehead and a little bit too warm on my forehead. It's very easy to use, and I do like the fact that it seemed to actually dry down. There is a little bit of stick to it, but all things considered, when it comes to a stick bronzer, this is one that seems to have actually dried down, which gives me some hope, and it seems promising when it comes to actually having longevity throughout the day. All right, so first impression, it does look really good on the cheeks, but I think that's pretty much where it ends, and I feel like the shade range is just kind of abysmal if I'm being honest. Let's move on to another cheek product, but this time from Maybelline, and I did talk about these already, the Cloudtopias. So these are going to be cheek and lip mousses. Very similar to the Fui pudding pots. The Fui ones are obviously more airy and whipped and moussey, while these do have that moussey texture to them, but when you actually look at it, it does look like it's packed in way more. But when you actually put your finger in there and you look at your finger, there are some peaks there, like it's a little bit moussey, if you can see on my fingertips. So I'm actually going to use both. So I'm going to use Toasted Sky and the shade Solar Serenity. I like both of these a lot. Toasted Sky is definitely going to be more of that bronzer color. I'm going to use this BK 116 brush, and what I want to do is just tap, and these are very pigmented, very pigmented, so be careful. So tap a little, tap on the back of the hand. See, that's a lot of pigment that came off. And then we're just gonna go on top of that bronzer stick right there, a little bit higher on the cheek, but still like meshing together the bronzer, and it's gonna act as kind of our in-between between the bronzer and this brighter blush color. I really like this texture when it comes to a cream blush because it feels like it's a bit more dry, there's less hydration, and because of that, it doesn't pick up the foundation and concealer and stuff you have already sitting on your skin. Especially if you give your foundation and concealer some time to dry down, this really does just sit on top and kind of brush, like airbrush on top of it. If you have the Rare Beauty Bouncy blush, of course the Fui Pudding Pots, and the Glossier Plush blushes, it has that same sort of look on the skin. While this is a little bit more moussey, those tend to be a bit more dry in texture, but they do apply extremely similar. And I'm gonna put a little on my chin and my nose. Okay, so here's what it looks like on the cheeks. really beautiful. Like, you can see just how soft that looks. I think the worst thing about this, again, is going to be the fact that it's so pigmented. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but really it's a lot easier to work with than any liquid blush, I think, and it gives you a less done up look than a powder blush might. I just dipped into Solar Serenity, by the way, and I'm gonna tap that off, really make sure it's evenly distributed on my brush, and I'm going to put this more on the center of my face, like the apples of my cheeks, and then bring it up a little bit. It's so gorgeous, and it does last all day. I think that they are fabulous, and I would love to get my hands on more colors. I just purchased these two to start off with though, because I wanted to make sure that I liked the formula and actually wore well throughout the day before picking up any more. I just powdered my face and I added a little bit more blush. I just added the Solar Serenity shade, and I went ahead and put some eyeshadow on my bottom lashes so we can go ahead and finish up with the layering of the mascaras. So this entire time I was looking at my eyelashes and nothing has fallen. Everything looks really good, and I'm very excited about it. So I am confident in doing another layer of both of these. By the way, again, I am using some drugstore lip products here that we're going to be talking about later, but just so you guys know, I am using two of the Maybelline serum lipsticks. I'm using Maybe It's Soft with the shade Crop Top right in the center. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the bottom lashes and layer another coat of both of these on top of the lashes to kind of see where we can get these. I am feeling like the Maybelline one might be a little bit easier to layer, but we won't speak too soon. Let's see how this goes. I think the curve of this wand and how skinny it is, along with the bristle placement, is super easy to work with on the bottom lashes with the L'Oreal one for sure. We're gonna kind of do the same thing that we did earlier, but we're not gonna focus it as much on the base of the lash. I'm gonna kind of drag it upwards to get the tips of the lashes this time. Okay, as you guys can see, we do have another coat here, and it is kind of hard to get more definition with how small these bristles are. It is really good to coat the lashes, but I am seeing a little bit more of that, not clumpy, I wouldn't call this clumpy, but the lashes are definitely not as defined and getting coated one by one. It doesn't look bad though. I do think that this looks really nice, but it does take some work, especially if you are someone that tends to like more definition with your lashes. So let's go in with the Maybelline Body Mascara on this side here. This smells like a traditional Maybelline mascara. If you know, then you know. It is a little bit harder to work that mascara into the bottom lashes here because that wand is a little bit thicker, well, a lot thicker actually than the L'Oreal one, but it's not impossible. The length of these bristles are perfect to really get in there and separate out each lash. Like, it's giving me so much definition. If you guys can see right there, a lot of definition. It makes the lashes look feathery versus this side where it's a little bit more dramatic because those lashes tend to kind of pull together, but not in a spidery lash way. It still looks like it's giving me really good volume, really good length. In my opinion, these mascaras are giving me completely different looks, so I think it's not a matter of which one performs best. It's more of a matter of what you want out of a mascara. So for this one, I think it's giving me length and a lot more volume. This one looks, again, a little bit more dramatic without being spidery or clumpy, and this is giving me a lot of, I guess, body, in the sense that it's making it look like I have more lashes because it's more feathered out, more defined. It is giving me a little bit of length, but mainly definition, and I would say slightly more volume because you are getting that look of more lashes here. Both of them have given me a lot of length, but I will say that it seems like the L'Oreal one does get closer to my brow here, if you guys can see that right there. All right, you guys, and here is our final face of all drugstore makeup, mainly from L'Oreal and Maybelline. I think those were the only two that we talked about. I did get the brand new About Face concealers sent to me. They sent me two shades, LM2 Neutral and M1 Neutral. I am very much looking forward to trying these out by themselves, as well as with the foundations. I'll either insert some clips here of me applying these and trying them on with some text of my first impressions if you guys want to see that, just so I can put this here. About Face isn't necessarily drugstore in my opinion because it does have high higher prices. I would say it's somewhere near like L'Oreal prices, maybe even more than that, but it's also not necessarily high end. It's somewhere, it's like mid-range makeup, I would say. But I really enjoy the About Face foundation, so I'm really looking forward to trying the concealers. I have high hopes for these. I think that the packaging is really cute too. It's really just a shrunken down version of the foundation, and I think the foundation is really adorable as well. I'm hoping that these shades do well for me. M1 Neutral is the shade that I wear in the foundation, so I'm assuming that it's going to be very close, if not the same shade as the foundation. And I also wanted to note, again, with the drugstore lip product video, I do also have these L'Oreal lip stains. I did swatch these, and I am going to be doing a full day wear test with these as well to see how they look throughout the day. I have a lot of thoughts. These are not necessarily what I expected. I also purchased a couple of the NYX Jelly Jobs. Again, not exactly what I anticipated these were going to be like, and I think that is kind of the case for a lot of people that are getting their hands on these. Like I said, this is only my first impression though. Please take this whole thing with a grain of salt. I will be coming back with more extensive reviews for you guys, letting you know exactly what my experience has been with these products, because I really don't think a first impression will signify how products will do for you in the long term. Hey guys, I'm back. It has been almost 9 hours now that we've had this face of makeup on, and everything is looking quite nice. So as you can see, I've got a lot of oil production going on, and that is to be expected, especially because this foundation is supposed to be more of a dewy foundation, but I will say that it hasn't broken down as much as I thought it would. I think that this is looking really nice. I was looking very closely to my little handheld mirror here, and it looks like the eyeshadow for the most part has stayed put. I do see a little bit of creasing right here on the very inner corners of my eyeshadow, and that's usually where I start to see some creasing when it comes to liquid and cream shadows. It's very normal for it to start there for me. I do think that I would still categorize this as being a long wear liquid eyeshadow, which is very impressive to me. Can we talk about these mascaras real quick? Neither of them have fallen, and neither of them have smudged or flaked off my eye, which is, I mean, honestly incredible. I'm very, very, very impressed by both of these. I have high hopes with continuing to use both of these mascaras. I'm definitely going to be testing both of them again, longer days of wear with different faces of makeup and all those things. You can still see the blush. As I said, these blushes are very long lasting. They really stay put and just like give you a lot of pigmentation throughout the day. I think you can still see the bronzer as well. I do think that the Maybelline Cloudtopias kind of help to sandwich that in, to kind of like keep that in. So I definitely have to use this bronzer stick either by itself or with another combination, just to make sure that this is actually lasting the way that I think it is on the face by itself. I think the concealer is doing a very nice job. I'm not seeing any of the areas where I have the concealer kind of caking up. If anything, we do have a little bit of creasing right here on the under eyes. Now I do plan on using this concealer with other powders just to make sure that it's really delivering the way that I think it is, again, just to be extra sure for you guys. These serum lipsticks are not meant to be long lasting, but it was very comfortable throughout the day. By the way, I didn't set my face at all with any setting sprays, and I didn't prime my face like I mentioned. So this is just these two complexion products by themselves set with regular powder. My usual areas like my T-zone, like this area right here, definitely quite oily. I would most likely go in and just dab my skin with a sponge a couple of hours in with this one. I will right now just soak up those oils here so we can kind of see what the face is looking like. Now again, this does work the best if you go in when you start seeing that oil production versus at the end of the day when we have a lot of oils coming through. By the way, this is just my sponge from earlier. I didn't add any water. This has just been sitting here drying up essentially throughout the day. Like as the day progresses, if you continue to blot, then you're gonna preserve your makeup a little bit better. And I think that this looks Really nice. Again, I'm very, very pleased with this. I will continue to grab B-roll for you guys so we can add it into our final thought review video when it comes up in a couple of weeks. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you enjoyed the check-in as well. As always, you guys, if you want to see a little bit more, if you're interested in seeing more of my content, then of course I will leave some videos right here for you that YouTube actually thinks you're going to be interested in based on what you've been watching recently. But until next time, you guys, I hope you take care. Bye.